Hi guys. So I'm back again. I figured I'd just post as much as I possibly can just to get the information out of my head and to stay consistent as possible. So these first videos are probably going to be like, maybe there's going to be pieces missing. They're not going to be perfect. Maybe all my videos just won't be perfect. But I wanted to get as much information out to you guys as I possibly can. So today what I'm thinking about is what my first steps out of depression were after doing the ketamine treatment, which really is a last ditch effort. It's a last ditch tool. And the only reason why I would ever suggest using ketamine for depression is if you are essentially in a place where it's almost non-recoverable, where I was. So that's something I'll mention. It's not a necessary thing if you're not suicidal, because there are so many other practices that are free that you can do. It's really about being disciplined. The ketamine was really just a break of the thought cycle, as I said in the last video. So the ketamine aside, one of the first things that I started doing after that treatment, when I was present with my life, when I was out of that looping thought pattern, and had enough of myself back to really ground out and center, was to start a really solid gratitude practice. That was the first step. Okay. And yeah, you know what? I was still, after the ketamine, I was still really, really depressed. It does not take away the depression. It doesn't fix anything. It doesn't do anything but create a pattern interrupt. Okay, that's it. It's just a tool to interrupt your patterns. You're still going to have those patterns, and you're going to have to figure out what to do with those depressive patterns in order to create change in your life. And I should probably go a little bit more into what the depressive patterns are, because people have a tendency to think that depression is that there's something wrong with your brain. And in my case, that wasn't it. I had learned to be a certain way and had learned to think a certain way. And because that went unchecked for so long, it became a habitual way of thinking and processing the world that came to me. So I had to figure out how to break that habitual pattern of thought. And one of the tools that really brought me around in the beginning was a book called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. If you do anything for yourself, if you get anything out of what I have to say, it is to read or listen to that book. I don't read, I didn't have much time, so I have Audible and I listen to it. And it's actually on YouTube for free, so you can look it up, all right? And you can listen to it. Please do that for yourself, because you will gain a much greater understanding of what is going on in your mind, in your body, and what is creating the depression that you're suffering from. So once you kind of get an understanding of that, you can start putting in some of these other things like gratitude. Okay, but I started with gratitude before I had that book, before I knew about that book. And I think I think it's the first practice to start with, to be honest, because when we're depressed, we're so focused on all of the things that are not going right in our lives. And we have a tendency to really take for granted all of the things that we do have. And I'm talking about simple things. I'm not talking about like, I have the perfect job. I'm so grateful. I have the perfect partner. That's not actually usually what's happening in a person's life who's depressed. They're usually out of alignment in some way, in some very large way, in one of the bigger aspects of their life, like career, like relationship, right? So I'm not talking about those things. I'm talking about being grateful for the shoes that you have on your feet. Being grateful for the fact that you can see with your eyes, you can hear with your ears, that you have hair, that you have teeth to eat your food. I know it sounds silly and it's so basic, but when we're depressed, we forget just how much we have. And you may think to yourself, well, none of those things matter. But the thing is they actually do. And if you can't be grateful for things that you have physically, I couldn't. I am now. Every single day, I'm grateful. My gratitude practice is super strong at this point. But if you can't be grateful for those things, what I could find is that I was grateful for nature. So there's got to be something in your life, even through the dark veil of depression, that you can find gratitude for. And that was a practice that really started opening me up. And that was before the books. That was before all of the work. But what it did was it cracked the door. It actually, this is what I say. I say it put a doorknob on the black room that I was in that that I didn't think had a door, but it put a doorknob there. So I was able to grab that doorknob and crack that door open. So for me, finding a gratitude practice was really the beginning of finding joy. It took years to find the joy. Don't get me wrong. You're not going to all of the sudden be grateful for a few things and then just be joyous. That's not how it works. It's just a way to start redirecting your mind, because when we're depressed, we're constantly thinking about all of the negative things that are happening in our lives. And the more we think about that, the more it compounds and the worse we feel. So this is just a way to bring a little bit of light into your world, just a little bit of light. Okay. And that's all you need. I'm not talking about taking huge strides at first. Just take baby steps. Give yourself something in your day that feels good. And for me, I would just go outside and I'd see a wildflower and I'd be like, wow, I'm so grateful. This wildflower is so beautiful. And I would notice the beauty around me and be grateful that I could see this beauty. Whether I was feeling like shit or not, at the very least, I could hear the birds, I could see them and they're majestic, So find something small that makes you feel like, wow, I am grateful for that. And then write those things down. Write them down daily. I started with 3 things and then I moved to 10 things. And now my practice over the last, 3 years, now my practice is something like this. When something happens that I don't like, I say, wow, I'm so grateful that wasn't worse. And when something happens that I do like, I'm like, wow, I'm so grateful this is happening for me. So I have gratitude in just about every single moment of my life right now, whereas I was not focusing on that at all. When I was depressed, all I was thinking about was what was wrong in my life. And that's awful. If all you're thinking about is what's wrong in your life, how can you feel good? Okay? How can you feel good? So that's all I have to say for today. It's a quick one. Find something in your life that you can find gratitude for and attach to that. Okay? Anchor yourself to that, because it's going to help you in the long run. It may not feel like it's doing anything right now, and I promise you it is. Because say this, let's see if I can get this right. If you have 2 parallel lines and you nudge 1 to 2%, what's going to happen at the end? All you're doing right now is you are nudging a line 1 to 2% to the side. And what happens over time is those lines grow very far apart instead of running parallel. And so with making this little nudge in your life, you're actually creating huge change at the end of your process, which is where I'm at right now. And that's why I can share this. That's why I can tell you that it works, because it does. It worked for me. And if it can work for me, it can work for you. Don't create any expectations. Don't have any expectations. The only expectation that I could say that you could have is that this is going to be fucking hard. Okay. It's not easy to change. But you know what? It's so worth it. And the more you do it, the more you dedicate yourself to it, and the more disciplined you get with your thoughts, the more healing you are able to attain. All right, guys, I love you. I hope this helped some of you. Please leave in the comments what you want me to talk about. If you have any questions about my gratitude practice or anything at all, please leave them in the comments. And also like, subscribe, follow, all of the things, okay? And I will be back for more very soon. Have an awesome day. And yeah, just take it one step at a time. All right. Love you. Bye.